Good morning, collective. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening or wherever you are. And today's reading will be based on the Sacred Circle Tarot for the True Sky transit through the sign of solar transit through the sign of Taurus, True Sky Taurus, which we are basically in the middle of now. And we have the moon moving into True Sky Scorpio today, which is quite significant because we do also have tomorrow the full moon in True Sky Scorpio. So it's actually a really significant full moon. The moon will be aligned with Antares, one of the royal stars, the heart of the scorpion, and the sun will be in line with Aldebaran, which is another fixed royal star in the sign of Taurus, True Sky Taurus. So it's a very significant full moon. Here we are about to enter winter. So for us, it's probably quite a different energy. I believe in the Northern Hemisphere, you were about to enter summer. So very different energies, opposite obviously, just like the full moon is opposite from the sun. So we also have some other interesting energies at the moment, including we still have Jupiter in Gemini. We do have Venus in Gemini still, and we also now have Mercury has moved into Gemini, True Sky Gemini, like just in. So actually looking at that, it is on the cusp, it's right on the cusp of Taurus Gemini actually, in the True Sky. So yeah, there's so many different systems. So in the True Sky, it's actually on the right on the edge, but in Taurus slightly. So anyway, we do have the South Node in Leo still, North Node in Aquarius, and like the bigger ones haven't shifted signs. Mars is still in Aries as well. And the Uranus-Sun conjunction is pulling away, so that's not as strong as it was. So yeah, just a bit of musing on the True Sky for our reading today. So on the bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Discs, which is quite interesting. It's the card of abundance. So this is the shadow energy from that deck today. And having the sun, you know, we do have also the Uranus and the Mercury in Taurus. Taurus is very much about that abundant earth energy, and it's very linked into physical possessions, resources, and also like self-worth as well. So yeah, there's things that, you know, in the external world are worth things, but Taurus is very much linked with that being also linked to their inner worth. Whereas the Scorpio, that opposing energy, which we're going into today, it's like basically on the cusp of Libra, Scorpio today. So we'll be moving into Scorpio later on. Is kind of the opposite, but similar, because Scorpio is also an inner sign linked to the inner realms. However, it's more detached from material resources and the physical resources. So it's more in touch with the spiritual resources. It's also linked to traditionally like inheritances as well. So there is a resource energy there, but it's very much linked with the spiritual, as in, you know, it's linked with it with death. So, you know, with an inheritance, you know, typically someone dies and then you inherit from them. So there's this link to the resources through death with the Scorpio. So it is quite an interesting full moon, this one that we have, and it hasn't actually occurred, it doesn't occur that often in this exact degree, you know, obviously that we have within the signs, but being right on Antares and Aldebaran. It's really quite powerful alignment. So the first, we don't have a lot of Earth cards in our main spread here. The first card we have is the Queen of Swords, which interestingly, we also have the King and the Knight. So our first 3 cards here are all swords suit. But we do have not only Mercury shifting into Gemini, which is its, co-ruler. So it's going to be quite a significant transit for Mercury when it's in Gemini. We also have Venus and Jupiter still in Gemini. And Jupiter in the true sky will be in Gemini for a little bit longer than other sidereal systems like Vedic or obviously in the tropical, it's not where they are saying it is. So, I mean, ultimately, you can believe what you will. I suggest to download a sky reading app so you can track it yourself. So this is the astronomically correct astrology that I follow here. It's not the tropical system. So I do understand the tropical system, and I did follow it for a long time. However, it's out of touch with the true sky, mostly due to the calculation of the precession of the equinoxes not being taken into account in the modern tropical system. So that is why the zodiac actually moves, because of the precession, which the Vedics take into consideration. That's why their system is more closely aligned with the true sky. However, even they themselves did standardize certain things, like all the signs are the same length and things like that. So in the true sky, they are not. They're not all the same length. Some signs are a lot bigger than others, and some are a lot smaller than others. So it just is what it is, and honestly kind of makes sense to me in that, everything is perfect, but nothing is perfect in this world. For it to be this wheel that's exactly divided between the exact same amount, it's a little bit too man-made, or there's this forceful energy of yes, creative energy. However, it's not aligned with the true heavens. And so that's why I really do love to follow this system, because when I look on the app, what's going on, it is what it is. And yeah, that's really, and I do also take into consideration the energies of like progressive or evolutionary astrology. So I don't think that the astrology from thousands of years ago needs to be the same as now, because of the precession of the equinoxes, because we have an active creative universe that is constantly changing and shifting and evolving. And so that's why I really love this system as well. Other systems that, like the tropical, that fix the wheel to basically 2000 years ago and then say that is the astrology, I feel like they are very diluted in their perception of, and yes, it might work for them. However, I do also think that we are very vulnerable to programming and being told things are a certain way. And I would rather, follow what's really going on and talk about that than project something that's not even like physically going on and say that. Yeah, I think it's a truthful thing for me. It's about truth and integrity. So I do have quite a few signs in my chart that I think would point to that, including I do have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction with Antares. So this full moon is going to be interesting for me. So anyway, we do have an earth element here with the gain, 9 of discs. We have some water as well, which we do still have some Pisces. We also have one major arcana card, the Druid, today. And we have another court card. However, it's our Page of Wands at the base here. And our central card being the Ten of Cups. So this reading is very much linked with emotional fulfillment. It's central to the reading today, emotional fulfillment. So if that's where you're at, then this is the reading for you. There are other energies, of course, playing into this. In fact, there's a lot of characters and a lot of air characters. So if there are people in your life, or maybe you're an air sign too, that are very prominent at this time, that have a lot of air or air signs in their chart, then this could be very relevant here for you. So I'll start with our first card here today, the Queen of Swords. So her realm is the realm of imagination, and in this deck she falls under the Spring Goddess archetype. So it's the rebirth of the vegetative cycle, and also the card of bards and poets. So it's of that intellectual, mental plane. She has the power of imagination and positive thought. It's through your thought patterns that you create your vision of your past, view your present, and envision the future. So the way you think about these things shapes what they are. Imagination and positive thought brings things to being and is one of the first principles of magic. So use these powerful creative energies to surround you and forge your future. It's not the time to delay or make excuses for inaction. Think positively and use your imagination. So there's also a hare in here, and the hare is touched by divine madness in spring, dancing and boxing. They have an anarchy that overturns the dogmatic tradition and restrictions and brings new ideas and inspirations. Hare may be telling you it's time to break free of restrictions and be unconventional. It's a time of great energy and creativity, with inspiration coming from unexpected sources. This message is also reinforced by the bee. So bee is very much a player in the springtime as well, heralding a time of great creativity and spiritual progress. This card is particularly fortuitous for poets and bards, as it brings the sweet honey of true words. Here, the Queen of Swords, if as a woman in your life, or a feminine, she is graceful and unconventional, quick-witted and confident. Though she likes to be with people, to talk to them and listen to them in equal measure, she's not happy in a crowd. She's artistic and loves music, poetry and beautiful things, is very honest and seeks after the truth, hates ignorant prejudice and blind faith, sees beneath the surface of things and has an intense desire to see justice and fair play, is adept at balancing opposing factions to further her desires. Nobility of mind often means she is lonely, loyal, and has higher ideals, often disappointed by not measuring up. Anyone involved with her better be perfect, or any less will not do for her rarefied ideal. She can be a cold and proud, because her intellect and ideals are more important to her than physical attraction. And be warned, she is repelled by excessive displays of emotion and hates anyone telling her what she should do and how she should behave. So that's our Queen of Swords for the Sacred Circle. Our central top card, so our crowning card today, is the King of Swords. So how interesting to have them both next to each other in this spread. I mean, I have shuffled this deck of cards many times as of late. I mean, obviously I've used it. I've had this deck for a long time, so I have shuffled it so many times, and yet we get 3 royal air cards come out like this. To me, it's very significant. So, the King of Swords, the Air King, is personification of the powers of air, the Lord of Gorius, the mystical city of the East. He calls upon you to develop within yourself the qualities of the element of air, especially mental powers, intellectual capacity for developing strategies to make the changes you want. You have had some inspired and innovative ideas, and it's time to move decisively and put them into action. Do not wait for others to do it for you. Demonstrate the qualities of leadership, and others will follow. The King's familiar is the crane, which speaks of teaching and knowledge passed on. Knowledge does no good sitting in a dusty cupboard. It needs to be circulated and shared. Crane also speaks of guarding knowledge from those who would misuse it, so be careful whom you speak to. Crane may be telling you that you must find answers in something that you are reading, or that you will find value in writing, making things clearer to yourself, or passing on what you have learnt. When appearance, this card brings as a mature masculine with high moral ideals, an intellectual. He does not allow his heart to rule his head, formulating his own rules and doesn't admit exceptions to them based on individual circumstances. So he seems cold and hard. However, a charismatic leader with great personal strength and dynamism, incapable of instigating great changes, is capable, of instigating great changes around himself. So he is like a change agent, which is very much linked to that Geminian energy. I just wonder if we're pulling in some Gemini energy here today. I know the moon is still in Libra, so there is that as well. And then we have the North Node in Aquarius as well. So obviously that's like the fated, like, energy of the world at the moment. So then we get the Knight of Swords, and he is change. That is his message, change. So we had the changing element of the King, and even the Queen's quite linked with change. And then we have the Knight, because air is a changeable element. So the Knight of Swords, you must be prepared for sudden changes that temporarily throw your life into chaos. It may be a new idea or vision that throws you off your planned course, depending on surrounding cards. So we do have the Druid and the Reward and the King with this guy. So there is rewards in these changes, and there is an element of with the Druid, with, you know, a learned, it could be you, like your wisdom and your learning actually helping, but there's definitely a learned figure here as well. And obviously the leadership with the King, and yeah, the Reward of the Cups. It can be a sudden illness, accident, or surgical operation, and can be an actual individual who initiates changes in your lives, like a catalyst. So the Knight is a mercurial man with extreme changeable opinions. What he fiercely believes one day will be radically altered the next. He's clever and idealistic and loves to examine new ideas and new horizons, however, lacks the persistence to fully pursue them. He gets bored very quickly and needs constant stimulation and excitement. Will move from one thing to another in a short space of time. However, is quite charming and very good with words. can potentially talk you into anything. Could be a writer or salesman, abounds with nervous energy and is very impatient with people who are indecisive. You know that you have something you've always wanted to do. If it's a special trip or career change or creative project you've been putting off, stop vacillating and do something positive. It may turn out to be the most rewarding thing you've ever done. So that's good advice too, I think, here because of the reward. We have the central card of the reward linked to this change. So there's some reward that will come from some change in your life. However, I do find it interesting that we have Gemini. We have the moon on the cusp of an air sign today, but we also have Gemini on the cusp, Mercury on the cusp of Gemini as well. So it could be coming in, this change, like in the next, few days. I think this moon is really going to trigger a lot of things. Then we have the Nine of Discs, gain. So the Nine of Discs is a card of considerable financial gain. It can be the result of your past prudence, thrift, and hard work. It's a reward for your efforts and careful administration. It's also a card of unearned money received from unexpected sources, such as inherited wealth, winnings, gifts, settlements, or alimony. In either case, good luck attends your material affairs. However, this does not bring you the satisfaction you thought it would. You're restless and would like a new challenge. You'd like to change your life, to travel and have adventures. Your present relationships can also be a source of discontent, and you're tempted to embark on a new one. Spiritually, you feel that you're not developing. You should avoid making hasty decisions and consider your future carefully. So that is definitely interesting because I was talking about the material resources of Taurus, and then with the Scorpio energy is often linked to inheritance. So that card does talk of this. It could be linked to this Queen of Swords character here too. However, with the dissatisfaction of the last card, we now have the Ten of Cups, reward. So there's a reward here also. And the Ten of Cups is like the ultimate emotional satisfaction. So I think in the last card, it doesn't really apply because we do have this one to clarify. So it's about reaping the rewards of your efforts, a time of great happiness within the family, and that you'll experience the joy of true friendship. Achievements are recognized and admired. This situation has firm foundations and will be long lasting. So you may receive good news that leads to success where you least expect it, which is definitely interesting, having our Knight of Swords, because he is often known as the messenger. The swords all can bring messages, but the Knight in particular is definitely linked to messages. So the next card we have is our only major arcana card today with this suit is the Druid. So the Druid is associated, he would be, with like the Hierophant card in your tarot deck. However, obviously he has his own energy in this deck. This deck is a Celtic, British, pagan deck. So he's a spiritual teacher who recognizes the necessity of opposites in balance. How interesting that we do have this full moon, which is all about opposites, happening tomorrow. Everyone's experience of the divine is different, and every individual must work through their spiritual developments in their own way. The Druid tells you that you must define your own balance, that it cannot be achieved by following dogma or set practices. This card indicates new opportunities will arise for you, and you will have the chance to put your ideas into practice. It will give you a chance to demonstrate your expertise and give your confidence a huge boost. It may herald an opportunity to learn new skills from a helpful teacher, particularly in the areas of science or medicine. It's also promising for those with ambitions in the area of performing arts, as indicated by new inspiration and exceptional talent. Spiritually, it indicates divine inspiration. You're being called to explore your own spiritual heritage, which is bound up with the land you live in and the earth you walk on. The old ways are lost from the sight of humankind and kept in secret by the spirits of the ancient forests, sacred wells and springs, buried in the earth, blown on the wind, and carried by the trees, herbs, and animals. These energies come directly from the primal source of the divine, pure, unsullied by dogmas, misrepresentations, and misunderstandings of humankind. So that's our druid. And there's some changes, here that's linked to. The next one we have, another water card, we have the Eight of Cups, which is the card of abandonment. So it's normally suggesting that you need to abandon something. Something in your life is not working out and you need to move on and let it go. So there is a period of needing to turn your back on something. It's necessary to recognize a bad situation cannot be changed or resolved and must simply be abandoned or left behind. It can involve a change of residence or a period of travel. The ending of a situation is accompanied by depression and regret. But letting this go is the beginning of a change that's necessary to bring something new and fresh into your life. A turning point that will bring you friends and experiences. Spiritually, you may be called upon to leave behind material success for something higher. The cup represents changes of consciousness that take place at initiation, bringing gifts of prophecy and vision. The lesson of sacrifice. The old self must be left behind before spiritual rebirth can take place. So interesting that it is linked here with the card of gain. So we've got this gain of material resources, which, could be from hard work. It could be from, prudence or good management of resources. Could be from inheritance. And then we have this letting go of something to gain like a spiritual rebirth. So our next card is the Page of Wands. Page of Wisdom. That's really nice. The Page of Wands. So the Page of Wands is all about creative potential that's not yet developed. So efforts may presently be clumsy and immature. Your talent is worth nurturing, though. With time, practice, and experience, your abilities can be developed. So don't let others deter you because your first results are not at all what you would like them to be. If this is a young person influential in your life, they could be a feminine or masculine who is rather arrogant and egotistical. They like to be the center of attention and often attractive, graceful, and fun-loving. They dress well and rather theatrically, and ideas are original and creative. Warm-hearted and make very good friends if you can put up with them condescendingly telling you how to live your life when their own is a mess. They respond well to flattery, but are easily hurt. Make a very bad enemy. So don't fall in love with them, whatever you do, if they're already attached, as they will break your heart, as they will deter their loyalty to their partner. They're very proud and will accept help from no one. However, they use their boundless energy and strength to help others and fight for the disadvantaged. So that's interesting for our base here. And then the last card from the main deck we have is Four of Cups, which is discontent. So discontent is an emotional feeling. It can indicate a relationship with unspoken resentments or lack of emotional fulfillment. You might feel tempted to have an affair, but this is not the answer. You need to look realistically at the relationship. You may have based it on false assumptions, thinking it should fulfill your fantasy of what a relationship should be, rather than trying to build a real understanding between two real individuals. You're bored and dissatisfied with your life. You feel apathetic and uninspired. You may be tempted to relieve this with excessive indulgence in materialistic pleasures. This will soon pale and will not fill the gap you feel. You need to re-examine your lifestyle, what it is you want and how you can achieve it. Your way of life does not provide you with goals to reach for. You are not stretched or sufficiently stimulated. So that is interesting as well. We do have this fire, young fiery energy there. So there's some stimulation and some stretching, but maybe that is more through others. It's not maybe your own, you know, are you pursuing things in your life that would stretch you and stimulate you? It is important to, you know, ask these questions of yourself. So the next cards I'm going to clarify with are the Green Witch Tarot. And on the bottom of the deck, interestingly, we have the King of our themes. So he was our central crowning card today. And then he's also on the bottom of the deck for the next cards. So he's obviously significant, you know, that masculine leadership air individual, whether that's within yourself, you needing to develop those qualities, or someone in your life. So for the Queen of Swords, we have the Six of our theme, so more sword energy. However, this is a very positive card. It means that you are passing into better times. You might have been in some conflict. However, you've moved on from it and you're actually in a far more calm, safer place now. So that's really positive. So this Queen of Swords was all about imagination and, you know, even mental manifesting, you know, magical qualities as well. So maybe that's something you've been working on in your life and you have passed, you know, you're at a more stable, calm place with that. Then here we have the King of Swords and clarifying with the Horned God. So the Horned God is our Emperor card. And in these, this deck, he also is linked to the Father and the Lord of the Animals. So we've got double strong masculine energy here. We've got the swords and then so the Horned God or the Emperor is pretty much like all the kings combined. He has the element, the energy of all the kings combined. So he's like an even stronger king than any of the kings. So definitely that masculine leadership energy is really important at the moment. And this is our crowning card. So definitely on that mental level, using your leadership abilities, being confident and leading. And then for our Knight of Swords, which was our potential change agent and our messenger, potentially of truths as well, we have the Ace of Pentacles to clarify. So there's some kind of financial or resource opportunity here from this change and these new ideas that are coming into your world. There is financial, you know, I'm not going to say abundance, but there's opportunity. There's definitely opportunity here. For our card of gain, which was definitely financial abundance, we have the Four of Swords, or the four of our themes here. So this card is linked to a period of rest and recovery. So you've been through some hard times, and now is the time to, you know, try to, as much as you can, I don't know everyone's situation, try to, you know, whether it's going to bed a little bit earlier than normal, or, you know, if you can, you know, having a little rest in the afternoon, or, you know, at some point just trying to turn off and just rest your mind. And if you can meditate, or if you do, that would be a really good way to use that energy as well. And this is linked with this gain. So ultimately, there may be some gain, but I am getting the feeling here that it's not the time to, you know, be spending that gain or throwing it around willy-nilly, which they did actually suggest here anyway, to not be, you know, irresponsible with this gain. Then we have the Five of Wands to clarify our Ten of Cups. So this brings conflict. It brings competition. And as you can see in the card, there are multiple individuals, which is interesting because we already had multiple individuals come into this reading. I mean, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 individuals, and then here we have 5. So maybe this is the 4 with you. And this is all about teamwork. It's also linked to creative work and endeavors. So it could be on a, so maybe you are working in a work environment here with multiple individuals on some kind of creative endeavor that is emotionally satisfying. However, there is conflict. So you might be struggling with getting everyone satisfied. You know, like you might feel, you know, emotionally satisfied, but that doesn't mean that everyone involved is. And so there's conflicts occurring. So that is interesting, as that's our central reading here today. Central cards. So for the Druid, we have the 10 of Athames. So this is our traditionally like 10 of Swords energy. It's quite a solemn energy, actually. So it is linked to, you know, betrayal, and there's a definite ending here. So maybe, you know, this learning opportunity has ended, or a teacher in your life, you know, a relationship with them. There's some significant ending that has occurred, and, you know, you need to move on from it. It's not your fault or anything like that, but there's definitely a moving on period here, which we also had similarly here with our 8 of Cups. You know, there was a loss and a letting go as well. And here we have the 2 of Thames. So the 2 of Thames is linked to decision making and putting your energy, especially mental energy, into areas of your life that are the most important to you. So making sure that you're not wasting your mental energy on things that really hold no value for you. And then for the Page of Wands, we have the Crone. So she here is our traditional strength card. And if this is a figure in your life, it could also be an aspect you've been developing within yourself. They will really need to be getting through the difficulties in their life. So the Strength card's very much about that internal strength and the courage and resilience to get through obstacles, using that inner strength to guide you and to hold you. So this person, if it's a person, this young person may be going through significant challenges at this time, and they may really need to work on their inner wisdom to guide them through these difficulties. This could be you also. So for the 4 of Cups, we have the Oak King. So this discontent, this boredom and dissatisfaction in your life, I would suggest, because it's the Oak King, which is linked to our Hangman, it's always about some kind of sacrifice. So you need to re-examine your life. What is it that's causing this discontent in your life? And, you know, how you can potentially use that, you know, in a sense to attract the things you do want. So by letting go of the things that you don't want in your life and working towards things that you do want to manifest in your life. So the next deck I'm going to pull from is the Earth Magic Oracle. On the bottom of the deck we have fairies, earth magic. So the fairies could be quite important at this time in, you know, what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. So the first card we have, full moon, completion. And this is for our leadership qualities and our, you know, it's kind of like a paternal energy, really. This haunted god with the King of Swords, it's a very masculine energy here. Very much the mental plane, but also far more than that. So the mental plane's leading with. And then we also have the horned god, or our emperor card. And then with this completion card of the full moon. So it's very much about, you know, being respected and, you know, being a leader, especially of the mental plane. And there's a completion here of that. So you have really achieved this ability, you know, to lead others with great authority and power, to make clear and confident decisions. Then we have Dream Time as our central card. So we've had this one before, and it's very much about in the Aboriginal tradition, you know, the Dreamtime stories and the creation of everything is linked to like the didgeridoo and them playing life into existence kind of thing. So it's a very creative energy, and this is linked to this rewarding 10 of Cups, so this emotional satisfaction. However, there's also this, you know, group here who are having some kind of conflict. You know, they're not all in agreement. They're trying to create something, they're trying to figure something out, but they're not all in accordance. So that doesn't have to be a bad thing. You know, by having different opinions and different ideas, it actually does stretch our own capacities, and it doesn't mean you have to take on someone else's ideas or, you know, implement them, but it can bring new understandings that can lead to future insights that you may not have achieved without those other ideas, you know, challenging you or that kind of thing. So I'm going to say that's what this is saying here, is that there's a creation here of, you know, emotional satisfaction and reward through challenging experiences, you know, because we all do need these challenging experiences as well. Then we also have, for our Page of Wands with the Strength of the Crone card, we have Stone People, Vigilance. So from the book it says, remain vigilant at this time, but not out of fear. Vigilance simply means opening up your mind and senses to information as it is presented to you through your eyes, ears, physical sensations, and detached thoughts. It's especially true in two main areas. First, follow any gut feelings that tell you to be wary about someone or something. Second, pay close attention to an important opportunity that presents itself, one that may enhance your life and the lives of many others. Maintain your vigilance of the clues around you and inside of you. Assess what is emanating from your body and then sort out any conditioned responses from what is purely instinctual. Examine the situation with heart, intuition, and mind in harmony, for this is how vigilance serves you. Detach, take a breath, and stand tall in your stature. So this is for this, you know, being strong about this creative, mental, early opportunities. So interesting, I think, here with that, like I was talking about with the creation from the conflict, I think it's almost a similar energy here. I mean, this one's telling you to be strong and courageous, but then this one is definitely telling you to be vigilant. So, these conflicts around you can teach you a lot. And then the full moon with the completion, maybe something around this energy will be completing around this full moon, which is not long now. It's come into the reading a little bit already. The next cards I'm going to pull from are the Nature Speak Oracle, and on the bottom we have Spirit Contact. So there may be some kind of spirit or, an ancestor or something that's trying to tell you something at this time that's really important. So like with the Vigilance card, it was talking about being open to receive certain messages. Obviously, you would have to figure that out yourself. So we have spiritual quest. So there's a completion with this full moon. It's a spiritual quest that you've been on, about with this leadership potential and this mental leadership. Then we have follow your passion. So this creation is very much linked with your passion. So whatever that is, and use this conflict to help you in your satisfaction. And then we have meadow, growth and abundance. And this is to do with this vigilance. So by being vigilant, you will grow and you will have more abundance in your life. The next cards we have are the Green Witch Oracle. On the bottom of the deck, we have Carnelian, which says energy, leadership, and creativity. All right, we've had leadership a few times now, so that's an underlying energy. And then here we have time, presence, and self-awareness. And this is for this spiritual quest. So interesting, we did have the spirit contact as well. So by being aware, having this, aware of this presence, and this self-awareness. So even though there may be something that this spirit might need to be telling you, or this spiritual quest, you still need to remain self-aware. You can't give your power away to other entities or people, or, your life is precious to you. So you have to, think through whatever is happening to you at any time, and like it says here, be the leader in your own life. You can't let others lead you astray in whatever it is they think, should happen. You need to be, present and self-aware. And then for our central message, we have fruit, achievement, and success. So through following your passion with the carnation here, you will achieve and have success. So with this creation opportunity. And then we have here chamomile. Gentleness, relaxation, and sleep. So those things are really important as well. So by incorporating, a gentleness, relaxation, and sleep, it will contribute to your growth and abundance at this time. The last cards I'm going to pull from are the Australian Wildflowers deck. And on the bottom of the deck, we have Geraldton Wax, assertiveness. Our first card is Sydney Rockrose, acceptance. Kangaroo Paw, forgiveness. And Lechinoltia, I'm probably not saying that right at all. Lechinoltia, success. So I looked up the pronunciation and it seems to be Lechinoltia, which sounds very German to me. I'm not exactly sure. So Lechinoltia. Formosa. So the first card we have is our Sydney Rock Rose. Acceptance. From memory, I believe this is one of the key essences in the rescue remedy. I'm not sure if you know the Australian bushflower remedies. They're similar to the Bach flower remedies. So the Sydney Rock Rose obviously comes from Sydney. It's also known as the Sydney Rose, the Rose Boronia, and the Native Rose. And it does have a refreshing, pleasing perfume. And that its meaning is you are loved. The appearance of this flower affirms that you are loved, needed, and appreciated, even if you fail to see it right now. Its energy is connected with acceptance in all its forms. It asks for patience. It reveals that though you may not be able to change things, you most certainly can gain strength in realizing that you are not alone, and now would be a good time to ask for help or to share assistance with others. Speak from your heart. Talk an open dialogue now, even if it has failed before. Begin the process of healing. Challenges are feeling left out and accepting that you may in fact need to move on alone. As a healer, it heals broken hearts and combats shyness. So this is linked to this presence and self-awareness on this spiritual quest. Our central Australian wildflower is kangaroo paw, forgiveness. So kangaroo paw is the floral emblem of Western Australia. Now is the time to offer or accept the hand of forgiveness. Open your heart and let the healing begin. Kindness and a soft approach is most definitely the key to any situation. Being open, honest, calm, and forgiving will take you over any hurdles you face with ease. Grudges, both real and imagined, are hindering progress. There's a clear indication that in order to function at a higher level that are close now, these need to be addressed. As a healer, it enables a greater enjoyment of people and social situations. It opens pathways to closer and more understanding relationship bonds, and is a heart chakra balancer for those who have been hurt and find forgiveness difficult. And so this forgiveness is tied in with your achievement and success and your passions. So maybe there's some passion that you were unable to, pursue for some reason. I don't know your life situation, but sometimes things get put aside for certain reasons. Maybe you've been in survivor mode for a long time or something like that, and you've not, had that ability to be able to pursue your passions. But you do need to forgive those past hurts and try to now pursue such things and move on from past situations that were not helping you, and try and create what it is that you want in your life. So Leschnaultia, I think it was, wasn't it? Success is our last wildflower today. So it's quite interesting. when it's quite difficult to cultivate this plant. So it's quite an interesting plant. Difficult to get started from seeds or cuttings. So when the flame of success flower shows up, it's an affirmation, a yes to your question. This is an indication that you are in fact on the right path. Progression is soon to be seen for your efforts, and those who feel that wishes have not been heard will soon begin to see results. Leschenoltia is very connected energetically with success through positive action, and it will be a reminder to those pursuing success and future goals that perhaps your motivations and methods need revision. Another challenge can be creative blocks, and you're reminded that action will be the only way through these. As a healer, it supports those who fear success and helps to strengthen the belief in the self. So maybe you have been, doubting yourself, and that's why you're trying to find this, creative spark and to be strong about it and vigilant, because you need this growth and abundance. However, you also need to kind of reset your nervous system with this relaxation and sleep to get this success. It's so important, not just, obviously like going hard at things, obviously burning the candle at both ends, that kind of energy, because we really do need to also look after our bodies and minds and hearts and all these things as well. So, and maybe you can do that for a while, especially if you're young. You might find that your resilience is a lot stronger, but it can age you quicker, and so it kind of does take from something, by pushing things too far. So make sure you're getting enough rest, because we've had that twice. We've got with the 4 of our themes here as well. And even just the herb chamomile itself, we had thyme, which is great as well. That's more of a stimulating herb and very good for chesty and throat and those kind of, which is Taurus's realm too, the throat, and chest is Gemini, so that's interesting. But the chamomile is much more, calming for your nervous system and also digestion and that kind of thing. So if maybe those herbs might be really good to incorporate in your life at this time, if you're having issues in those areas. So this is your reading for today. If you got anything out of it, if it resonated at all for you, if you could subscribe and or comment, that would be amazing. If you already have, thank you so much. I do appreciate every single one of you here. And it is a general reading, so not all of it would or probably could apply to you. So just take what resonates and leave the rest for those that it does apply to. And I'll be back soon with the full moon readings, and have a fantastic weekend ahead. Okay, bye.